Hey there, if you don't know me, my name is Maria and I like to make technology videos on the internet. And today I thought it would be nice to sit down and tell you about the time that I fucked up. So basically what inspired this was that I started my internship in January as a data engineering intern at Shopify, and in my second week I kind of did something that wasn't great, and I learned from it, and it was actually a positive experience, so that's why I wanted to share it. And then a few weeks after that, I had attended an event specifically made for interns that was called like My Fuck Up Story or something like that, where it was a bunch of full-time employees at Shopify, even like the VP of engineering, sharing the times that they fucked up and what they learned from it. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share with you what I did, obviously more vaguely because I can't say specific things because it's like internal information, but I think it's still interesting to share. And of course, I'm wearing my baka earrings, so that means idiot in Japanese, because the thing I did was pretty stupid. So yeah, starting with the story. What happened in my first week was obviously onboarding, getting started with things, and as you saw in my first week of a data engineering intern video, I started this thing called a code lab at the end of the week, which is basically a tutorial. So it would help people learn how to set up a pipeline, like a data pipeline in Shopify, learning some of the technologies that we use and things like that. So that was something that I was working on. I started it at that end of the day on a Friday, and I continued it into my second week. But what happened was that since I only work a few days a week, my certificate that I had created became expired. So this certificate that you needed, which is just like to authenticate that you are who you say you are. So this is where that problem stems, because essentially when I was doing the code lab, you create the certificate, but there's like a command that you type in the terminal and it creates it and it adds it to a file, like an eJSON file. So it's like encrypted JSON, and then you would upload that to GitHub, and then you can like deploy your pipeline and all this stuff. So you have to like get it encrypted. But okay, what happened was that I had done this, I think on like Tuesday or something, and I don't work on Wednesdays. I work on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So by the time I had come back on Thursday, my stuff was expired. So I had to do a new certificate. But I don't remember what I was doing on Thursday, but somehow I ended up doing this on Friday, or like I couldn't figure out or something. But end of day Friday is when I was doing this. Like I have such a bad memory, but I was doing this end of day on Friday, and I was like to my mentor, we were pair programming for this because I was like, I can't figure out why this isn't working. I'm trying to run the thing again because I have the file, I can see it in front of my face. I see it's the two old things. Like it has certificate and I think like maybe a key or something, like two different things, two different secrets that it will create. And then what happened was that I was like, okay, I'm running this command that I did before. Why isn't it changing these files? All it's saying is that these two files are being created on my computer. And I was like, oh, what if I just open those two files and then copy and paste that information into my thing? I didn't tell this to my mentor because he was like, oh, I have to go work on something else. So I was like, okay, I'll do this and I'll tell you how it goes. I'll continue working on it. I didn't tell him what I was gonna do because I don't think he assumed that I was gonna do this thing, even though I think now he thinks a few steps ahead of what I might be doing. So then what I did was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I did that. I was like, oh, this is like, these are pretty big, whatever. Like, I'll just push up on GitHub, see if it fixes things. Because like the whole thing was that I couldn't deploy the reason why I found out that my certificate was expired was because I couldn't deploy my pipeline, like it wasn't working because the certificate was expired, because it only lasts for 24 hours. So I was like, okay, then I have to fix it. So then I was like, okay, maybe I can deploy my pipeline, but no, things weren't working. I was like, I sent my recent commit to my mentor and I was like, what's wrong? Like, why isn't this working? He was like, what did you just do, Maria? Can you explain? And that was pretty funny because basically I didn't encrypt anything. And the thing that I missed, like I was trying to go super fast. I was trying to rush myself because I was very impatient, because maybe what you don't know is that in my first internship at Shopify, like I've done 3 so far. In my first one, I felt like I was doing pretty well. And by the end of it, I was like a big contributor to what we were working on. In my second team, I felt like I just fell off and like I didn't have a mentor. I was just like, I didn't feel like I was contributing that much. I don't know if I learned as much as I wanted to learn. And I kind of like lost the skills I had gained in my first internship. And then this is my third one. And I was like, okay, I need to come back and like get things done really quickly so I can be really good on this team and learn a lot. And then I was just pushing myself too much because I was like, oh, I want to finish onboarding. I want to start getting tasks done and like getting issues assigned to me. So that's why I was trying to rush myself. And that was a bad idea because I had missed a step, because there were actually not just one command that you had to run in the terminal, there was a second command. And I didn't look back at the tutorial to see that there was that second command. So that was pretty bad of me. And I had just like randomly thought of this stupid idea to put these unencrypted certificate and key into a file and upload it on GitHub, which is not safe. And essentially, okay, what actually happened after that was what the more interesting part of the story. So what my mentor first did was, in a Slack channel which has a bunch of people in the data org, he wrote a message saying that we did something and this is what happened, and here's the branch on GitHub to look at it. And then a bunch of people started a huge thread in that Slack channel, and they started more threads and more threads and more threads, because they're all trying to figure out, okay, like, what do we do? Because why is this a whole problem? It's because I pushed up the stuff that you're supposed to keep actually secret, because that stuff, like the actual like key and everything, that is being used across all other apps that use this like certificate. So then they would all need to rotate their certificate because this is being put on GitHub, even though it's a private repository. Okay, this is private repository, not deployed at all, but it's still on GitHub, and GitHub is now owned by Microsoft, and even before it was just another company. So it's like another company can access your secret keys, and it's obviously you can email GitHub and say, hey, can we delete this stuff, like fully delete it so you don't have access to it. And they did email them, but it's like still an extra level of safety is to rotate all of your certificates and keys and everything. So that was a plan. And then they had this one guy who was like kind of leading the discussion, but then he had to go. And also the worst part of this was again, it was the end of the day on Friday, so this was like 6 p.m, 7 p.m, 8 p.m. People were supposed to be going on their weekends, relaxing, and then I had caused this whole issue that roped in like 30 different people, and then a bunch of people who didn't realize that this was going to affect them, because we took a few hours to figure out, like, okay, how do we actually rotate this stuff? And I was just like watching. They even made their own Slack channel to talk about this, and like 20 something people joined, and they were so smart. And I was just like sitting at my computer like for a few hours just looking at it, and I'm like, what did I just do? What have I done? Because I felt so bad that I had kind of ruined these people's Friday evenings. And I don't know, and then this other guy took over, like an actual person, like the security team, and he was leading the discussion and trying to like, okay, decide what are the next steps that we need to do, like a few different things, like contact GitHub, take it down, rotate certificates, and what's the plan for that? Because they're like, okay, this isn't a big deal, we can leave it until Monday to ask all of the teams that use this stuff to rotate. And they were like, okay, is there good documentation for doing this? And they were also trying to figure out what was the root cause of this problem, like why was I even able to push up this information to GitHub? Because in theory you're not supposed to be able to do that because we have a check for that. So then there was obviously a bug in that like hook that checks for things, and my mentor later found it was because like I had created my files before I had created my branch, and apparently that special hook only checks if you create a branch and then make those files, and that is so random. But like I guess I found a bug in the system, and essentially I don't know, we did have that root cause analysis meeting like a week or two after, and it was really interesting because we talked about, okay, what went well, what didn't go so well, what did we learn, and why did this happen, like actually asking like the 5 whys or whatever, that it's like where was the actual problem or multiple problems that came out of it. Because obviously it's like, okay, was there good documentation? Some people didn't know how to do this because usually like they do this every few months or something, and then there's a whole plan, and there wasn't an easy way to do this because there's no like lever that you just pull and it just changes everything for every single app. So they had to do it manually. Like each team had to be like, okay, we're gonna do this, and like take time out of their days on Monday to do this, which I felt really bad about, of course. And I don't know, I think I did learn a lot to be more careful, and I recently had to do this thing again, and I did it properly this time, okay? So I learned from my mistake, which is like the most important part of this. And essentially the reason why I wanted to share this story was because, you know, you can mess up all the time. Like I never actually had the experience when I was on my front end or back end team where I had completely like messed things up. I know a lot of my friends have, but I never had that experience. And having this experience now was actually pretty good, just to see what happens, see the whole process and learn like, okay, they don't blame you. Like no, at any point did anyone blame me for doing this. And also something I forgot to mention was that it was really funny because a lot of these senior developers and leads and all this stuff, they saw who did it, which was me, and they would DM me on Slack and be like, "Don't worry, Maria, we're not mad at you." And I was like, oh my god, are they mad at me? And they were super nice. And a lot of them shared stories about times that they had messed up. So that made me feel better because I had not ever experienced this before. So that was really nice to like get that connection with them. And a lot of them told me like they had done the exact same thing like last year or in their first year of their job. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's never a bad thing to, you know, make a mistake. Of course, obviously I learned from it, which is the most important part. You'll never have a system that you can't break. Like even at a big company, you can break things. Especially I didn't have any malicious intent for doing this kind of stuff. So there's nothing bad. I guess I thought maybe, oh, I could get fired, but you can't really get fired. And I know that's the Shopify culture of like, okay, you what is it like? Build things and break things. But anyways, I just wanted to say that don't worry if you're ever in this situation. I doubt you'll get fired because there was obviously like you weren't the cause of this bug, and people also learned from it. You learned from it. And once I looked into the calendar of one of my teammates and I saw that they always go to all these root cause analysis meetings, so I'm like, okay, these things happen often enough that it's not such a big deal, and it's fine. Like I had actually been to one on my previous team, and yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. Like you learn so much from seeing like a bug or a security threat or something happen, and you obviously grow from it and your system becomes stronger from it, and obviously like the team becomes stronger, the trust becomes stronger because you're not blaming it on a specific person, and that's really like a sigh of relief, you know, because then it takes off the pressure. Overall, I learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this story time. And remember to like the video if you like the video, comment your fuck up stories because I'd like to hear them, and don't forget to subscribe. So I'll see you next time. Bye.